A ballad is a song that tells a story, but sometimes the story is hidden, mysterious, or remembered differently by every listener. In this interview, Keion Chan discusses 3 AI-assisted visual poems inspired by classic ballads, personal tributes to Sandy Denny, Gary Brooker, and Joan Baez.
A ballad is a song that tells a story. As a baby boomer, not surprisingly, my all-time favorite ballads are An Old-Fashioned Waltz by Sandy Denny, A Whiter Shade of Pale by Procol Harum and sung by Gary Brooker, and finally, Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands, written by Bob Dylan and sung by Joan Baez. All these songs have been around for decades with millions of fans. However, when you look deeper into the songs and you ask, what exactly are these ballads telling? What kind of stories are they telling? And the answer is not very clear. I see many examples of people attaching images to the songs and their lyrics, but they do not tell a coherent story. So one of these days I said to myself, time has passed and perhaps I should really take this seriously and try to tell the story that I think the song is saying to us as audience. So I made this attempt and created 3 visual poems to honor these great singers. The first song I wanted to create a story about is Like an Old-Fashioned Waltz, sung by Sandy Denny, who unfortunately passed away early at age 31. For this song, the lyrics created an image of a beautiful garden, but does not say where. And looking at the lyric and the song, one can say, well, it could be a garden in Hollywood, okay, about the fading of the movie industry and so on. Or one can look at the garden setting a different way. After thinking about it, I decided to make this story about the First World War. In my story, the ballad begins with an English nobility's estate. A young man meets a woman. They fall in love in this debutante ball. Unfortunately, within a year, in 1914, the young man went to war and died in battle, leaving behind his young, widowed woman. The song concludes with the young woman dancing in a frozen pond in the garden estate. And that is the conclusion of the song. And I dedicate this rather nostalgic story to Sandy Denny, who I really admire as my all-time favorite singer. The next song I tried to write a visual poem about is A Whiter Shade of Pale. Now this story has many, many fans, and nobody has really come up with a coherent story as far as I'm concerned. Most people say, oh, this is a song about a young woman who is leaving his boyfriend, or this is just some kind of hallucination party where a young woman gets drunk and turns pale. When I study this song, my focus is on the lyrics that have these several words, a miller's tale and 16 Vestal Virgin. So picking up on these 2 references, I created a story based on, in part, Chaucer's Canterbury Tale, in which there is a miller's tale. The other part is based on the Roman legend of the a temple of 16 Vestal virgins. So based on this, I've created more or less a sort of mystic story. But it ended up with a contemporary setting where the businessman is being visited by a psychiatrist, and he tells the psychiatrist that he dreams of his old girlfriend and so on. So this is the gist of the story for A Whiter Shade of Pale, which I created. And I dedicate my visual poem to the great singer Gary Brooker, who at age 78 could still really sing beautifully. Next is the song Said-I Lady of the Lowlands. Again, this is a song written by Bob Dylan and sung by Joan Baez, and it's controversial. Even though it's a long song, there are a lot of mysteries about the content. People say, is this a song about Joan Baez herself? Or is this a song about the old girlfriend of Bob Dylan? With all these controversies, I decided to write my own visual poem interpretation of the song. And my song, instead of one Said-I lady, I have created 4 Said-I ladies, each with his own narrative. But the last narrative, it belongs to Joan Baez. And it is about Joan Baez as the 4th Said-I lady with her son, Gabriel, and her granddaughter, Jasmine. So the last part of the song is my dedication to Joan Baez as the mother and the grandmother. And I dedicated this to my old-time favorite, Joan, who fortunately is living in the Bay Area. I hope she gets a chance to listen to my songs. Thank you.